Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back, and I want to talk about my favorite kind of virusy thing. Well, it's a combination of two things. It's the filter and the distortion. I'm going to get into it with a bit more detail because some people are rather interested in what it's all about. So we have two signal analyzers. One that's kind of an oscilloscope, and the other one that is an FTT analysis machine thing. So what that does is that's going to show us what the distortion adds to the harmonics. So I have a nit patch. So you can see a lot of cool stuff going on there. I'm going to select only oscillator 1, and it looks like we have a saw wave. I'm going to bring this down. So we have a sine wave. So this is the purest of tones. And it's just a simple sinusoid. I'd like to say that. So I want to go into our kind of distortion area, and this is the distortion off. And we can see on the bottom right that there's no kind of harmonics added. So what distortion does, I like to think of, it's kind of the yin and the yang between the filter and the distortion. The filter takes away and the distortion adds, and it's a combination of these two that gives you awesome possum sounds. So we have, we have our light distortion, and we can see that it has already added a bit of harmonics, but the waveform hasn't changed. So I'll just bring the intensity up, right? And it's kind of bended it into a square wave almost. And we have a lot more upper harmonic content. And we'll give soft distortion. It's not as reactive. And you'll notice that it still kind of has its sinusoid integrity, but it's more of a square. If we go hard, it's still very intense, but it's not as squishy. We have a lot of upper harmonic content there. If we go digital, now digital, it's like the maximum. And we have what appears to be a square wave now. Right, and it's turned a sine wave into a square wave, which I find very fascinating. Shaper, I'm not going to pretend to know exactly what this does. It kind of does what the Ableton saturator does. I think it adds a sine wave to our sine wave. It's kind of FM-y. Right, very FM-y. I'm not an FM-y kind of guy. Rectifier. Now this is my favorite one. This is used by a lot of people. And what this does is it splits the positive, because like the oscilloscope, you can see it's an equal up and down, negative and positive. It's a fluctuation. It's the simplest of shapes. But what this does is this will cut off the bottom, or cut off the top rather, and make the integrity only like kind of one-sided. Right. So right around here, it just rectifies it. It emulates kind of like a diode. I'm not sure how it works, but I know it sounds amazing. And you can get really intense and get to somewhat of a lopsided triangle saw sine. Right, so it affects only the positive aspect, because like the diode, the electrons go from one end to the other, and the sine wave, it's going back and forth, but the diode only allows it to go through one way, so it gets a roadblock every time it gets back through. So it's kind of like does that. I don't know. That's why I'm not the best tutorial guy. Let's see here. Bit reducer. This is kind of like a bit crusher. You can see what it does. Kind of makes it all jaggy. And this is exactly how it works in Silent. And what that does is it makes sound a bit more interesting. So what it can do is it can take just a regular sine and then add some really interesting harmonics you can see on the right analyzer there. Right? So that does that to a sine wave. What do you think it does to like something with a lot of fun stuff in it? So there's a rate reducer. This is like a bit rate. So there's a rate reducer, which is like the audio resolution reduction, and it just got dark. And there's bit, which is the bit depth. So if we, it's very, Commodore 64ish, and I believe, yeah, there's a low pass, and that doesn't really do a whole lot. And there's high pass. It doesn't do a lot to this. It's just a simple sine wave. So I'm gonna go back and we're gonna init once more, and we're gonna select. We have one. We have a saw wave, and I like saw waves. Saw waves are fun. So what I will do, is show you the relationship between distortion and a filter. Right. So I have this sound. I want it to sound a bit more interesting, so obviously I go to our distortion section, and I guess I'll go middle, or I'll go middle. Right, so that turns it into kind of a square wave. And still, that's kind of interesting, but when the magic kind of really happens, it's when you introduce your filter and your resonance. The resonance will drive the distortion, and it sounds rather incredible. So we'll take away, so it's symbiosis, and we'll boost the resonance here. Right, and we can see the shape. We've added we've taken away some harmonics, but we've added some harmonics. We've drastically kind of added those partials in there, the squiggly lines. And that sound is the sound of a bass waiting to happen, but you need the right kind of distortion to get it going. And that's kind of intense bass. That's one oscillator. And what we can do is we can dial in a sweet spot. And obviously we can try a different kind of distortion. I'll go our distortion, and I'll bring down the BPM. And from there, that's just one. It's one oscillator. I can't say that enough. We can add a sub-oscillator, which is kind of an octave down. And we'll do that now. And that's all well and fun. We can, of course, dial in another sweet spot. And just with the combination of the distortion and the cutoff and the resonance, those three things, and even just a simple kind of oscillator, we can dial in something. But it's all about finding the sweet spot. And yeah, we'll add that sub-os back in, why not? that is my favorite sound of the virus. And this is just dry signal going out, really. There's no stopping you using like a multiband distortion unit and other kind of post-processing. And yeah, what else? Let's see. Right, so it's a combination of these three things, and just getting it right. And you can really change the timbre just with the resonance and the cutoff. And yeah, that's what I like. Of course, you can double up filters. And use filter balance. I think I might do that next. Or you know what, I should actually show that with the snow. Yeah, I will make a note to show different kind of filter apparatuses. But yeah, hope you learned stuff. And yeah.